Well, he comes to us from Seabeck, Washington, which is officially designated a ghost town. We'll figure out the story on that, as well as the illustrious career of Craig Moore. Craig has been competing in the modified division for several decades, and in 2024, he won twice at Grays Harbor Raceway, which was an exceptional season for the veteran racer. Hear his story about starting in the super stock ranks and then how modifieds came about at Grays Harbor Raceway in Elma, Washington. That and more coming up next. But before we get to the interview, make sure wherever you're listening or watching from, you hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes. Well, joining us from the gorgeous and scenic Evergreen State of Washington, from specifically the town of Seabeck, it is Craig Moore. Craig, great to have you here on the Beyond the Flags podcast. We go back quite a ways. I remember seeing you guys come down to Cottage Grove Speedway probably about, early 2000s or so. You and a group of guys, Glenn Vincent, Leroy Lawhead, and those cats, and still out and racing, and had a pretty successful 2024 season at Grays Harbor Raceway in Elma.
Yeah, that was a while ago. We used to take 4, 5, 6 of us, and we'd go down to the Grove when we first started racing modifieds, and had a good time. Met a lot of good people down there, and then been basically sticking around town because of work schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like a couple years ago that they put together what's now the IMCA Wild West Speed Week. And that was a big deal when that came around in 2011. It was unsanctioned for the first couple years, but thankfully it's sanctioned and has been great, and has just been growing by leaps and bounds since 2011. But that was an integral part, not just for the state of Oregon, but for the entire Pacific Northwest, to have a group of races consecutively ran with a day off. But that was very enjoyable, and it's still enjoyable to see.
We actually supported that the first couple of years, and we refer to that as Hell Week because we live up north. So the entire time we were traveling, we'd go clear down to Wairika and Medford and Coos Bay. So that was a tough week for us. We did it for the first couple of years, and I just couldn't swing it after that.
It's kind of like Xenophon's favorite story, where the Greek mercenaries went to fight for the Persian king or Persian prince that was trying to usurp the king, and the king dies in battle, and they got to find their way back home hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Yeah, it was a trek and a half.
It's some wild and crazy country. So
enjoyed it. I loved it. Felt like a race car driver for a week. That's all you did all week was travel from one track to the other, work on the car, race, load up, and do it all over again. So it was definitely cool. It was a great experience.
One of the marquee events of the Pacific Northwest, and it's not a hidden gem, it's well known throughout the Speedway Motors IMCA weekly racing program, is the Northwest Nationals, that has been at Grays Harbor Raceway for such a long time, and it is such a lovely event. It's an event that I'd love to get to, if schedule allows, to see. I've never had a chance to go there just because conflicts occur, but I mean, that it's a great payday. The weather's great, and the racing is great too.
Yeah, it's we've made every single national since the birth of it, except for one. I only ran a Race of Champions. I didn't compete in the actual nationals, but I at least ran the Friday night Race of Champions race. But that's one of those deals where it's my home track, and you'd think after 20 some years I'd at least picked it up once. But that one haunts me still to this day.
I'm just trying to think. I know Blair Shoemaker won it in about 2006. And I'm trying to think if anyone from the state of Washington has won it since then. Okay. And I think it was 2006. Everything. Yeah,
6 or 7-ish, right around there.
Everything's starting to become one long week, as I've noticed as I get a little older. So everything blends together. But it just shows to you how tough everything is. And this 2024 season one was incredible, that it went nonstop, and lap traffic was a major thing, as well as reading the track and track position was very key too.
Yeah, we've done, we'll either do fair, pretty good, top 5, top 3, or we don't even make show, or we're tagging the back coming in out of LCQ. So it's just one of those deals again where there's so many cars, track position, luck, heat races, all that stuff plays into it. And, you know, you can be the best driver out there. And you could end up, 15th to 24th, who knows?
Well, not too far back from when the Nationals took place, July 6th, just a little bit ahead of it, picked up a big victory at Grays Harbor Raceway in Elma. And I remember watching the broadcast on Grays Harbor Raceway TV, and it was definitely an emotional moment for you. And then later on, and again, watching it on Grays Harbor Raceway TV, September 21st, able to win again. That's got to feel sensational with just all the years that you've ran there and the success that you've had there as well, showing that you still got it. And also to compliment that the competition is ultra tough there week in and week out.
It is. It's, so allegedly I retired in 2014 after my last championship at Grays Harbor. I ran with the Nutter Clan up in Skagit for 4 or 5 years, had a great time with them, and then stepped back in my own program. Well, when I was running with Nutters, I didn't keep up with technology. I didn't keep up where these cars were going. We set the car up like we normally would. We'd go out there and we were a lapper. I mean, we were just getting stomped every week. And so after a couple of years of that, I decided, and the girlfriends, both of us decided that, maybe we'll get our own car and run our own program. And it was an absolute eye-opening of where the technology on these cars and how to set them up. And of course, by then, crates are in full swing. Back when I was racing heavy, it was open motors. So it's a whole different program, stepping out for 4 or 5 years and essentially coming back and having to start over. It was an eye-opener. So it took us a minute to figure out what we needed and how to get, back up to the front.
I think 2022 is definitely a benchmark year for the state of Washington, because not only is Grays Harbor Raceway, they're sanctioned under IMCA, and they had been for a couple of seasons, but Skagit Speedway comes in the mix as well under sanctioning for the first time, and ever since then. It opened a lot of things up, I think, positively. Obviously, the Survive the 55, a big show for them, but also emphasizing a good payout on their weekly races too. And I think modified racing under the IMCA banner is in a really healthy state at both Skagit and Grays Harbor Raceway, which means the state as a whole is in a really good spot right now.
It actually is. I don't know all the numbers, but I know we averaged 26 cars a night on an average night at Grays Harbor last year, which is phenomenal for the modifieds in the Northwest. So on top of, racing against Skagit nights, they'll have 15 cars up there. So the cars are here, the guys are there, the enthusiasm's there. You bring it all together and it makes for some really good racing. It's very competitive right now, very competitive.
Yeah, it just seemed like, we were talking about 2011, right? The Speed Week started. That was still kind of the days where everybody had a little bit of their own flair. Let's just say each track had a little bit of a different rule chain or a rule difference. So it kind of made...
So they were wings and big motors and reverse. It was pretty wide open that first year.
Yeah, and I just remembered, pre anything being sanctioned, it really kind of was the wild west, where you'd have to make a lot of changes, or sometimes you might run a stamp tire, or you had to run, your engine offset had to be this, you had to have your firewall here, all sorts of things that made it a little tricky for guys to maybe want to venture out. And now that is not the case with the national sanctioning with IMCA. You can go, as long as it's an IMCA sanctioned event, you're legal from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic coast.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to be able to travel. We wanted to go somewhere, we'll run down and we'll run banks on off nights. And, way back in 2010-ish, around that area, we would rain out of Elma and we'd run down to banks. It's only a, short jaunt down there. So we'd run down there and perfectly legal. Same tires, same everything. You could unload, change a gear, and you were good to go.
Well, 2025 upcoming, and here in just a couple weeks, expected to open the case of the new campaign at the IMCA TV Winter Nationals at Central Arizona Raceway in Casa Grande.
We're excited. We're really excited. It's going to be a fun couple of weeks.
I mean, it just seems like Washington Row, like what I like to call it, because usually Austin Rogland, Tyson Blood, and Jeff Westergaard, and some of those guys, it just seems to be getting bigger and bigger each and every year.
Yeah, I actually just saw Kevin Smith is pre-registered as well. So there's another one from Washington. Nice. I think I know of at least 5 or 6 from Washington that are going to make the rundown, and I'm sure there might be a handful more. But yeah, it's going to be a good weekend.
Well, we talked about, me seeing you for the first time, early 2000s or so at Cottage Grove. For you, how did everything start of you becoming a race car driver, and what was the first, because I've always known you as a modified guy. Have you always raced modifieds, or did you run some other divisions prior to that?
So we ran stock cars at Grays Harbor. First time I ever went to Grays Harbor, I went to watch a race. My brother-in-law took me down there. And I sat in those stands and I said, I'm not coming back till I'm in the pits. And my dad went out and got a car, put a car together. It was actually a 67 Mustang, old pavement car. And this was roughly about 94, 95-ish. Okay. And he ran the Mustang the first year. I got my first laps on the track in it. Unibody car didn't work, so we went to the drawing board. He bought a new car, handed me down the Mustang, and we put a full frame under it. I think I started my racing in 95, I guess, 95, 96, somewhere around in there. And we ran steel bodies for, 4 or 5 years, and Fred brought in the modifieds. So we couldn't go anywhere with our stock cars because they were absolute just animals. You could do anything, radiators in the back windows, cow catchers, it was just a really morphodite class. And we wanted to be able to travel. And Fred brought those modifieds up and said, hey, how about these? And so less than 2 years, we completely got rid of our super stock class and traded it for the modifieds and never looked back.
And
but
Fred
my dad's the one that got me into it.
Okay.
He raced back in the 70s down in California and then moved up here, had 3 kids and went to work. And so the race car kind of went to the wayside. And once he got back in it, it's something I can't get away from,
Well, and then Fred Brownfield, who we're talking about, longtime promoter at Grays Harbor Raceway, brought the modifieds in, was it 99 or so?
1999. I also believe that was the first year of Yakima's 3/8 track at the old horse track.
Okay.
This Fred put that deal together as well.
And then, obviously, you've been going strong ever since and have been a regular competitor at Grays Harbor Raceway. And when you have had the chance, you've managed to venture off to some new places.
Yeah, we went to the Alltel 100, which was the first 100,000 to win, roughly around 2004 in Batesville, Arkansas. We knew we weren't going to go back and set the world on fire, but we wanted the experience. We wanted, to race against some of the best in the country, and we did. And we learned a lot. We came back and it was a different kind of racing for us. But, we've been all up and down the coast from the Vegas. We've made it down to Vegas a handful of times, Bakersfield, Tulare. I think Antioch, we hit our first year in a modified, Cottage Grove, Coos Bay, Medford, Willamette, Banks, Yakima, Republic, Grays Harbor, Skagit. I think that's about the total we've been to.
That's a lot of turf. That's pretty much from the Mexican border to the Canadian border.
And I think the first full year that Tyler, my son, ran, I think I took him to 6 different tracks in 3 different states his rookie year.
Wow. Well, and that was going to be my next question is you being a father of a racer for some time, that had to bring a little bit of a lot of joy, but a unique perspective to it of you guys are working on each other's equipment. Obviously double the pleasure, not always double the fun sometimes when it comes to race cars.
No, it's double the cost. At the end of the day, it's double the cost.
Yes. Yes, but
It's like having a spare car you never get to drive. You know,
exactly.
Keep throwing dollar bills at it.
Yes, but I mean, he's had a respective career as well, and that's got to be enjoyable to watch as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a great driver. He's very respectful of other drivers. You know, if the car's not there, he doesn't push it. He doesn't overdrive it. He comes back, works on it, makes it better for the next week. You know, and just to watch him, it was impressive to watch him. But again, he's been at the racetrack since he was 2 years old. Been to every single race with me except for when we went to Arkansas. So that's something you watch how a car goes around the track, and when you get in it, you know how the attitude of the car should be and what you want the car to do. And so, his first time in the car, he open motors, big tires, just, stomp and steer. And his first lap around the track, he drifted that thing up by the wall. Most guys would have just piled into the wall, and he literally backpedaled it, throttled it, got it off the wall, and then stood on it to bring it back down. And I went, oh my goodness, first time in a race car.
That's wild.
We kind of knew then that, he was gonna do all right. There wasn't gonna be a lot of crashing. He was gonna have a cool head on him and be able to go forward.
Are you looking to find that adrenaline rush, but you can't because you're not at the racetrack? Well, check out the IMCA TV Replay subscription library to have access to thousands of hours of racing for just $24.99 a month. Relive all the moments of the Speedway Motors IMCA Super Nationals fueled by Casey's at Boone Speedway, the Harris Clash at Deer Creek Speedway in Spring Valley, Minnesota, the IMCA TV Winter Nationals at Cocopah Speedway in Somerton, Arizona, Florida's Clash on the Coast, and dozens of Speedway Motors IMCA weekly racing program racetracks from across the nation, as well as the IMCA TV Dirtcast podcast. Plus, 25% of that $24.99 monthly fee goes towards the Drivers Point Fund and is a great way to help out your local racers. In 2023, over $97,000 was paid out to IMCA drivers directly at over 50 racetracks across the country. Please note that live broadcasts are not part of the replay subscription. That's IMCA TV. IMCA TV, where America comes to watch racing. Well, I've always seen you with the M14, and it seems like red seems to be a favorite color of yours because it seems to have been in some sort of combination with all the cars that I've seen you through the years. What's the story? Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't take too much speculation of what the M in the M14 stands for, but why the choice of the letter and the numbers?
So my dad's number was 13. So when I started racing, it was just natural to go 14, just to follow the next in the series. When we first started racing, you didn't have letters. There wasn't enough cars. There wasn't enough numbers. You just had numbers. And then I think it's the first or second year we went to the Vegas, the Duel in the Desert. So many 14s, they made us put a number or a letter on it. So we chose the M, obviously, for more, and it's been on there ever since.
And then the color red, is that just a lucky color, favorite color?
Just a favorite color. Red, white, and black are my favorite car colors.
I mean, it just seems like it's either all white with red lettering or red numbers with black outline. I mean, you seem to get the trio of color combination in some form or the other.
Yeah, it's like right now I'm staring at a pure white race car. It is just a blank white canvas, and to me, it's just so clean. I just like that really clean look.
Well, I love geography, and I love learning about new places, and I've known about this for a while, but I don't know the full story of it. You're built from Seabeck, Washington, but I looked it up. Seabeck is considered a ghost town. I'm not talking to some supernatural entity or poltergeist, am I?
No. It was actually the town was founded on lumber and fish because it's on the Code Canal. So that was their big push back, in the 18s, I guess. They had a big lumber mill and a big lumber yard down there that caught fire and burned to the ground. Everybody left. And it's just been a little town ever since. The old school house used to still be there. I mean, I went to school at the second school in the area. It's been there since, I don't know, the 50s or 60s. So just a great place. Lots of acreage out there. everybody's on 5 acres and dirt roads, and you just get the freedom. You can drive race cars anywhere and everywhere you want to, and nobody complains. So it's just a great place to raise kids, I thought.
Yes. And you still live in what would that be considered, the southern Puget Sound area?
Yeah.
Or what would it be? It's
the
not
west.
Olympic.
It's west.
Okay.
But we call it the peninsula. We're out on the peninsula.
On the Olympic Peninsula, right? Not the Kitsap Peninsula? Okay. Yep. All right. Yeah. Well, because I was going to say there's a lot of things to do. As far as people have never been there before, there's great nature trails. There's the Olympic National Forest. A lot of coastal stuff too. That's pretty cool. Little coastal towns, and you're just a ferry ride away from the city.
Yeah. No, we ride that ferry a lot, actually. Head over across to Edmonds. That's the ironic thing, is because I've raced so long at Grays Harbor, people assume I'm a local. I'm an hour and 45 minutes from Grays Harbor, from the racetrack.
Yeah.
That's my closest racetrack. The next one's 3 hours. So just to go to the races every weekend is, almost 3.5 hours of travel there and back.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Cause the ferry ride, as the crow flies, it's not that far, but the ferry doesn't move fast, and you're waiting on, you're waiting on the transit authority.
We don't have to ferry down there. We had to ferry up to Skagit if we didn't want to drive around. Yeah. But this way we got to go through, it's all back roads. It's all country roads, 35 mile an hour speed limits, double lane highway, lots of deer running out. So we're not jumping I-5 and heading south,
Sure. Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, for Skagit, Edmonds is just north of Seattle, and, it's I don't know, like 30 miles north from Edmonds to Alger, Burlington area.
Yeah. It's not a bad gig if you take it. The problem is when you jump on the ferry with the trailer, they start really start charging you.
Yeah. Well, because, I got a friend, obviously, raced at Grays Harbor forever too, JJ Hickel, who, is from Knoxville, Iowa these days, but from the Quilcene area, kind of near Seabeck, kind of sort of on the same side of the Olympic Peninsula. And I remember him telling me of stories of like, man, if you miss the ferry, or because the ferry could be too full, or it's a headache sometimes.
Yeah, it can be a travel nightmare.
And one time, I was gonna go up 101 from like Shelton area. My wife, when she was alive, we went to go watch the Mariners play the Giants, and then we stayed the night. We were either going to go watch them play again or just take our time getting back home. And it's like, oh, let's go and let's just do a loop, and like we can go up to like Port Angeles and then go down to like Aberdeen, and there's like forks there, because the Twilight series, and we only got as far as Shelton to the Little Creek Casino, and then we decided to go home from there, because it's like, man, this is going to be a long drive.
Yeah, it's quite a drive back there.
Well, people that you want to thank, and sponsors that make everything possible, because whether you're racing locally or you're racing regionally or even nationwide, it takes a lot of people, a lot of support. And whether that's sponsors or marketing partners, who would you like to acknowledge to make everything possible? Obviously last year, the last few years, as well as this upcoming season.
Well, first and foremost, my employer, Miles Resources, has been a huge asset to our program, not only my program, but to the track as well, because they've donated time and equipment to help us get that surface back where, we can get a good race on it. So Miles Resources is huge support of what I do. I have Ground Up, road construction, Core and Main, Workman Construction, ProGrade, a lot of construction companies, a lot of racers are construction companies, but, all those guys, they help, they just call and offer, hey, can you need anything this weekend? Are you good? No, we're pretty good. Or, we're out of tires, and, things are getting tough, and they jump right in and make sure we have what we need to be competitive. Like I said, it's competitive. It's a lot more competitive than, 10 years ago. It's a whole different type of racing, in my opinion.
No doubt. It's, it's harder and harder to win races, and it's not for a lack of effort. It's just everybody is so fast and so good and so even. You know, the days of the full invert fields are kind of gone away, you know, sort of a bygone era, because everyone is just, their programs are stepped up so much. You know, the guy that starts, you know, 18th or 12th in a feature very well could win, or even the guy on the pole. You know, it's a lot of luck and smart, you know, race intelligence and situational awareness, you know, basically going where they're not and don't get caught in a wreck sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part with crate racing. As much as you know, I love open motors, you know, the crate racing has made it where a guy can spend a lot of time on his setup, on his suspension, how his car's working, and you're not tearing your hood off, you know, every other race. And we did open motors for a lot of years, and a lot of guys that I raced with did. And, I mean, 99% of them are on crates because it just makes it so much easier.
Well, for people that want to follow along with your journey in 2025, do you guys have any sort of like a team page or a website or anything, or can they support you with, do you got any shirts or hoodies on sale right now that can contribute to the racing fund?
I think we have a limited amount of cups, t-shirts, hats left over from this season. We weren't going to reorder until we got back from Arizona. But we also have Craig Moore Racing. Susie runs a web page for me. I don't have time, nor do I say the right things. She's always the one that puts it together so nicely. And then everybody thanks me, and I gotta say, hey, I didn't put that together. I have my own page. Just go look at it. It has a bunch of dump links on it, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy construction stuff and crashes and stuff like that. That's, you know, that's all I put on there. But Susie does a lot for our program and keeps me in line with making sure I got everything and everything is packed and ready. And you can't do it without that other half. I can tell you that. That's for sure.
No doubt. Well, that's super cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks down in the place where the sun is going to be shining and being quite vibrant to bring in the new year. I hope that you guys have a wonderful Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll be seeing you soon for 2025 action.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Ben. Like you said, it's been a long 20-some years. You know, you don't realize how long it is till you sit down and actually go, man, that was 24 years ago. You know, it's quite the feat. So yeah, to be able to keep doing this and enjoying it, and you know, the people you meet along the way, it's just amazing.
Well, race fans, that does it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you continue to enjoy these upcoming interviews. We appreciate it if you would like and subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever it's at. Give us a like and give us a subscription so that we can deliver more of these great interviews to you for your listening pleasure. In the meantime, wherever we're at, wherever you're listening, we hope you have a great rest of your day and a pleasant evening, and we will see you soon here at Highside Racing Promotions.